Hey guys, glad you're joining us today. We are here with Stuart Siniard. He is the volunteer coordinator director at the United Way here in Madison County in Huntsville. Stuart, tell everybody a little bit about what you do. Introduce yourself to everybody.
All right. Like you said, my name is Stuart Siniard. I work for the United Way of Madison County here in Huntsville. I'm the Volunteer Center Director, and that's kind of a two-pronged function in the community. One is an online database that we run through the United Way called the Volunteer Center. And then the other is me working directly with volunteers and organizations trying to make sure that everybody gets what they want out of volunteering and the organizations get the help they need.
So you've got, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was that you have a really unique perspective being connected with tons of organizations in town and people that are looking to volunteer. Yeah. You have a really unique perspective on how all of this quarantine stuff has affected everybody, especially the way we serve. I mean, it's affected us with Workcamp. So share a little bit about that. How has all of this affected these organizations and what you do too?
Yeah, the world has changed a good bit. It's affected us in a number of different ways, and it's affected us just like every other service organization. I mean, restaurants, anything like that. Anything that deals with people coming in and going out, that's how the effect has been. So all of us have seen those kind of effects. What a lot of people don't know is there's 300 plus nonprofits in Madison County alone.
Wow.
Okay, the Volunteer Center helps me manage that. But it also, you have to understand, is United Way is a funding organization, and we focus on our partners who are health and human services organizations. Those are the people that help people directly.
Right.
And those are the ones that have been impacted tremendously by this because of the health and welfare of their clients. That volunteering has become more difficult. General volunteering out in the community is a little bit more open. If you can find open spaces, if you can find needs outside the buildings, if you can find needs that don't directly impact clients,
Sure.
those are still up and running well. It's the ones that have to deal with clients in their buildings, clients being served directly, that is going to be affected by the whole process.
So, and those are organizations that I would imagine are having a tough time adapting to all of this.
They are. I mean, when a volunteer, you have to understand, it's the volunteer's health they're worried about, along with their client's health. So things like having to wear a face mask, having your temperature checked when you come into the organization, having the room in the organization to be 6 feet apart.
Right.
We're talking small spaces. We're talking not having to think about this anymore. We're talking moving things outside into parking lots to sort and to clean, to get things organized, and then slowly moving them back in. And then limiting the number of people when clients actually arrive. Literally, they only can have one-on-one now. So these are the things that we're battling, and we're trying to make it the best we can. We're trying to understand it the best we can. So it's going to be a difficult process.
Sure. So what are some things that, with the way that we're doing our work camp, we're having to, like you said, we're having to find creative ways to connect with people. We're having to find work with organizations, like you said, in some of those ways where we're organizing projects in a way that families can do it. We're doing it in ways where we can, rather than taking a van load of 15 people, we're taking a van load of 4 or 5 and spreading them out in the van.
Right.
For 6 foot distance, transportation has become an issue.
Yeah.
How can, we're having to adapt to those things. How can people get involved either through you or if they just woke up one morning and said, I really want to help somehow, someone, what can they do, especially now?
Yeah, it's the wake up one morning gives me issues.
Yeah.
What the best way to do to volunteer and be a good volunteer and be touched by the volunteering you're doing is to prepare to volunteer, to do a little research, to understand the needs in the community, ask yourself who you want to help, how you want to help, okay? And this is individuals, this is families, this is groups, this is small groups, this is large groups. Do a little research, have a little meeting, 6 feet apart, but do a little research and think about how you want to make the impact in your community. Do you want to start in your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. Do you want to start with your church group? Do you want to start with a community group? Do you want to help animals? Do you want to help the environment? Do you want to help people that are hungry, feeding? So get those ideas in mind and then start doing a little research. Contact the United Way, give me a call. You know my name now. Call up the United Way and just ask for Stuart. Mm-hmm. And I will help you understand what the volunteer needs are in the community at the moment. There are volunteer needs that are very easy for organizations to manage, like CASA and their garden mm-hmm. outside. CASA is Care and Insurance for the Aging and Homebound. So they are also building ramps.
Ramps, yeah.
And they do their gardening, and all this helps the aging and the senior citizens. They're doing food deliveries. You can contact CASA and see if they need help doing food deliveries. You can contact organizations like Manna House and mm-hmm. see if they're doing food deliveries and how you can do that. Put a little gas in your car, drop it off on the porch, mm-hmm. knock on the door, wave when they open the door, back up and leave. So it's a concept that's going to be easy to manage, but it's going to take some time to understand.
And is this something that as restrictions start loosening, do you see organizations loosening with it, or do you see them like, are they kind of holding back waiting?
They're going to hold back. You have to understand the health and human service organizations that deal directly with clients are dealing with very vulnerable mm-hmm. communities.
Right.
We're talking communities that don't understand how to social distance, communities that have no option to mm-hmm. social distance, communities of elderly, of people like Manna House does specific servings and no contact delivery for I cannot
specific.
For community groups like cancer patients,
right.
people with communicable diseases, people with things like that.
And we've worked there and seen the crowds of homeless people that come through their building,
right,
just at back-to-back paces, yeah.
And so they're having to change that. They're having to change how many people are in the building. So it's understanding. You're going to have to communicate with the organization and understand how they can and how they cannot. But it's going to be almost like a medical situation. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're gonna they cannot put these people at risk, because once that community gets infected or involved mm-hmm. in this process, I hate using the word infected, but it can be catastrophic.
Yeah, it becomes a totally different volunteer outreach effort at that point.
Yeah, at that point. So everybody wants to help. Nobody wants to see the hungry. Nobody wants to see mm-hmm. these things. And sometimes these things are hard to see in our community, but they are there, and a lot of people understand that they're there. And they're in a bad way at the moment. Just people being out of work, people losing their part-time jobs. The 100 employees of Space and Rocket Center
right.
are now unemployed.
I was just about to ask you about the economic impact.
The economic impact is huge. So Manna House has seen a surge, requests for funds for temporary housing, requests for mm-hmm. funds for rental assistance, requests for funds for utility assistance. All of those are rising, and the need is rising, and these organizations are doing their best to meet that need and to get much involved. So donations are always needed, either in goods or services, or monetary donations are always needed. And to understand the community and the impact and who needs what, mm-hmm. we have a social services hotline in Madison County. It's called 211.
Yes.
Okay. You can contact 211. You can give them a call. You can tell them you would like to donate whatever you have to donate, or you would like to get involved in something very simple or something very complex. and you can tell them your zip code and where you live, and they will tell you organizations that have contacted them, which are in communication with them all the time. We have this, we need this, we need this. And see if you have something that you can donate to them. If you've spent the last month in quarantine cleaning out your house,
Right, you
and
probably
your
got
garage
stuff.
is full and you can't get your car in, those are the kind of things. But 211 is a wonderful resource. The United Way Volunteer Center is a wonderful resource. It's literally the Volunteer Center, MC for MadisonCounty.org.
Okay.
170 different agencies. A lot of needs are posted, but they're not. A lot of them are pre-quarantine.
Right.
So you'll see what the organization has listed, and you might want to contact the organization
Sure.
to still see if they can do that or how they're operating at that time.
Sure.
But you can learn a lot about your community just by going through that system and reading about the organizations. I mean, there's a lot of good information in there about it.
Well, I appreciate it. Appreciate
Yeah,
you sharing
absolutely.
with us. That we're trying to provide everybody out there with some more information. Through our work camp, where normally we would be face to face and they can see these organizations.
Right.
We've got a lot of people that are doing stuff from home and in their own communities, and one of our big pushes is not just to go out there and do something so it makes you feel good, but to understand that you're connecting with people and that it's a
Right.
very real situation. I think that connects people and connects your volunteerism and your service beyond maybe a one-time, here I gave a bag of clothes and now I feel good about
Right.
myself, and creates connections within our community, and like you said, helps people know each other.
Yeah, it does. And a lot of people, starting with the bag of clothes donation, you feel good. Then you want to learn a little bit more about your community and where that bag of clothes went, and how did it get there, and who's using that bag of clothes now. So a little research, a little understanding about your community, a little effort in understanding the needs around you. But I still say start local, start very close to home, walk down the street and see if there's an elderly neighbor that needs their grass mowed. Anything can be volunteering. Anything that you feel that you're producing something and you're giving something without any need for anything back.
Right.
That is volunteering. And that's what we need to understand in the community. We need to make those connections. Small things. Always start small.
Absolutely.
And work out. When it comes, I have a little note right here to mention, when it comes to health and human service organizations, even with animal organizations and things like that, if you want to volunteer as a teenager, a lot of these organizations have restrictions on volunteering until you're 18 years old without a parent.
Yes.
Okay? They don't have time or the facility size or the staff to monitor younger volunteers. So if you do plan to volunteer as a family, make sure, or as a small group, make sure you have parental guidance with you. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means they're going to require somebody be with you so they can give everybody the instructions, and that parental presence is going to make sure everything goes well and they can move on to whatever they need to do.
Sure.
So just be prepared about that. If you're planning something, make sure that you're planning around your parents' work schedule. A lot of these organizations are not literally open during the weekend anymore just because of financial difficulties. So during the week, in the evenings, these are the kind of difficulties we're working around. It's hard to find times that they're open and running. But there's some that run all the time, like Downtown Rescue Mission.
Yeah.
They're accepting volunteers. They're very specific about how they accept them. I don't know the exact rules, but I can guarantee there's going to be a temperature check. I'm guarantee there's going to be PPE, mask, face shield, gloves. You're going to have to be comfortable in that setting.
Right.
And if you're not,
They're going to have to turn you away.
I want to stress to people not to stress themselves out.
Yeah.
If you're not comfortable with the situation, don't put yourself in the situation. say it's okay for me to donate that bag of clothes, feel good about myself, and move forward from there. Don't stress yourself out.
Absolutely.
It is your health that is just as important as the volunteering that's going on.
Yeah, I think it's giving ourselves a little bit of a break to just go, this is so crazy. We're all figuring it out as we go. And just because there's organizations that have done it for so long doesn't mean that they know immediately, oh, this is how you do this. This is how you handle this. We're having to figure out every situation every day.
They're learning, and that's the important part. That is where we need to make sure that we understand, is to keep our stress levels low, keep our giving as best we can, and say okay to where you are in this situation. Even if this situation wouldn't happen, my first piece of advice is if you want to volunteer, find your comfort level. Don't go past it unless you're willing to learn and then get involved.
Sure.
But start at your comfort level and see where you go. There's a lot of organizations that it takes a little bit of comfort level to deal directly with people that are in need.
Yep.
And it is hard, and some people get discouraged. So it's very important for self-care. It's very important for self-reflection. It's very important to just understand how you feel about it.
Right.
And go from there, because there's always something you can do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely always.
Well, the way we say that at Workcamp, we say, see a need and meet it, and then do what you can with what you have.
Do what you can with what you have.
And
always be that person.
Yeah.
Even if it's a small thing.
That's
You're
right.
being that person. You're helping the wider world, and everything, doesn't matter what it is. Every penny, every stitch of clothing, every pair of shoes, every pair of socks makes an impact on somebody's life.
Well, I appreciate you coming and talking to us for a little bit. You are our first video, even though you're the first one we filmed. You're also our first video for the week as well.
Oh no!
And so I wanted to let everybody hear your perspective first, because they'll be working with a lot of these organizations, and throughout the week, if you guys are connecting with your community, working in your homes, going out to some of the projects that we've had you sign up for. Take a lot of Stuart's advice and be prepared. Do some research, and then if you enjoy what you've done, if you connect with these organizations, find ways to continue to do this. Not just this week, but long after. And so we'll be sharing more interviews with you guys each day this week. With different organizations and different people who are on the front lines, like Stuart was talking about, of doing valuable work in our communities, not just during this quarantine time, but every day of the year, for years and years before this happened, and likely long after this is gone. And so it's changing a lot of things, and but we're glad that you came and shared with us, and a lot of your information will be up. Has already been up on the screen and will be after we get done here. So I really appreciate it.
I'm here every day.
And God bless, and all the stuff you're
Thank you
doing. I
very
know
much.
we've known each other for a while, and the stuff you guys are doing is awesome. It always excites me to send you messages and go, hey, what's going on, and how are we doing stuff, and can you help us out? And so thanks a lot for that.
You're
And
welcome.
guys, have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.